I don't talk about this a lot on this channel, but I love ghost hunting. And I want to touch base on it today, how it connects to mediumship and how you might be able to play around a little bit with it.
This is your moment. This is your moment in time. This is your moment. This is your moment.
Okay, when it comes to ghost hunting, let me start by saying this. I think it is fantastic. My one piece that I would love to see radiate in the ghost hunting world is when an investigation is done, I would love to see someone on site clear the building, meaning cross over the spirits and let them go home. Allow them and help them to go home. That's the only thing. And that's what I did. I was on a ghost hunting team for a number of years. I had a lot of fun. And I want to tell you just a couple little things about it because I think you can start, exploring a little bit for yourself and, collecting some evidence if you find that to be interesting. And I'll give you a tip at the end of this on how to get started. Probably the easy two ways I'll give you on the easiest ways to get started. But couple things to let you know about ghost hunting. What you see on TV, it's not that it's not real, and who's to say if something is staged or not? I will tell you that some of the experiences that I've seen on TV that somebody has said, "Oh, that was staged." I've actually personally experienced things very close to that. I even created another channel called The Other Side Chats, which it's also a podcast if you're more of a podcast fan, but we do have a YouTube channel for it. If you're interested in this stuff, you might want to pop over there and check it out because it's a lot of videos or podcast episodes of me talking about what it's like as a medium to do clearing work. And some of those that I talked about were during ghost hunts. So or ghost investigations is probably a better way to say it. We don't hunt ghosts. And also, I feel very strongly that ghosts are people too. I prefer to talk about ghosts in terms of spirits instead of ghosts for some reason in this world, and I don't think it's by anyone's particular fault. This is not a situation where I say look back and then this is what you can see and this is what this person I think for some reason, by no one's fault, we dehumanized spirits. And it could be pop culture, it could be the movies, whatever it is. When you hear someone say ghost, the first thing you typically don't think of is a person, right? But in essence, they are. They are a person without a body. So we've dehumanized this concept. And one thing that I'm really passionate about is reminding people ghosts are people too, right? Ghosts are actual people who had a life experience here and simply don't have a body. Why am I passionate about this? Because sometimes that which goes bump in the night is just Uncle Earl or Aunt Jane. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's somebody that simply loves you, and it's not the boogity 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 boogie that we see in, on the big screen and in some of these stories. But back to ghost hunting on television. I will say that some of the intense situations that they've experienced or that they show on TV, I have also had myself. So I do tend to lean more toward, yeah, that's very possible. So that might not be staged. But what I will say is one difference between ghost hunting on TV versus ghost hunting in real life. Ghost hunting in real life is very boring. I mean that with love. I still went over and over and over again because the whole experience is wonderful and it's fun. But what you don't see on TV is that to do a good ghost investigation, you really are there for 4 or 5 hours, typically in the middle of the night, sitting in silence, just trying to stay awake and, recording on camera, recording on audio. But there's a lot of downtime and there's no spooky music either. I find that interesting. There's no spook. I love the spooky stuff. So next time you watch a ghost hunting show, put it on mute. And that's going to be a little bit more what it's like to do a ghost investigation. But I will say overall, I do love it. I think that while it's possible to get evidence. I do think there will always be a limitation on what evidence we can get, at least until quantum physics, and the really deep, 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 deep science goes in further, maybe develop something that we can use that's really effective. But on a spiritual level, I don't see ghost investigations getting huge amounts of evidence because there really is that line there. Do you know what I mean? There really is that line, and in order for all people on this planet, all people in all cultures, to be able to have their human experience, we really can't pull back all the curtains and go, here it all is, right? Can you imagine the mass amounts of people that it would completely change their life in a moment? And while this can kind of be kind of an interesting, fun concept, probably a good movie, I don't know that it's the right thing to do because in the end, we've come down here to have a human experience. So when people say to me, why don't you get more evidence on these ghost hunts and these ghost investigations? My answer is that if we were supposed to see, hear, feel way more than we can, then we would, but we're not. And it's actually kind of part of this agreed upon reality that we only know so much and we can only experience so much. Even when we open our intuition and we get really accurate pieces of information, or we know things or hear things that are coming up that we can predict, or something happened to somebody and we're aware of it just through our intuitive channels, it's still typically limited. We can get really strong intuitive hits, but notice we don't get all the answers. And there's a reason for that. We put ourselves here in linear time on purpose. We did. So I do love ghost investigations because I think the evidence does help open up to some conversations and to others, maybe looking at this, deciding that maybe they're ready to start shifting out of some of their skepticism. But I don't know that we'll ever see any evidence that just blows the roof off the whole house and it just is like, here it all is. But in the meantime, it is interesting. And as a medium, I went into ghost investigating for two very distinct reasons. The first one being that I wanted to be able to go into a location and pick up anything and everything that I could possibly pick up instead of just focusing it on one channel. And when I would do readings with individuals, while that was super fulfilling and absolutely wonderful, I still was only really focusing on one channel. I wanted to go in like a blank slate and just pick up anything and everything that I could pick up, not based on any one particular living individual. So I wanted to do this with sort of an expansion, experience. But I also wanted to, really kind of investigate what's possible, what's not possible, how different individuals communicate. And I guess this is the third one. I wanted to clear the places. I wanted to, at the end of, the ghost investigation, I wanted to be able to clear them and help them to cross over and go home. And I was very blessed to find a ghost investigating team that not only held a really great, like rigid rules about it, which I'm going to go over a couple of them with you as well, in case you're considering ghost hunting or in case you started and you didn't think of some of these yet. They're going to be helpful for you. But they also were very open to me being a medium and me clearing the location after everything was said and done. And that meant a lot to me. So when it comes to how they set up their rules and everything else, one thing I loved about this team, which I found was different with another team that I tried working with initially, what I loved about this team was that they planned where it was and everything else, but they wouldn't tell me, the medium, anything. I was told the date and the town and the time that I was the town I was supposed to go to and the time I was supposed to arrive. Upon arriving in the middle of the town, not anywhere particular, I would literally just get to the town and pull over. That's when I could call them and then they would direct me to the address. What this did was it stopped me from being able to kind of tap in ahead of time. It also cut out the possibility that your medium on your team would do any research, because you know skeptics love to say that. I get it. And there have been mediums that do it. Shame on you. But it cut that part out, which was wonderful. Also, the second rule that they put into place was no one could talk to me when I was there, which was great. One of the first ghost investigations I did with a different team, I told them this, don't talk to me when I get in there because I don't want to be influenced. And I gotta tell you, one of the first things that the lead female on the team said to me was, do you hear a baby crying? They said that there was a baby. And I'm like, don't tell me these things. I'm trying to pick them up intuitively. So she didn't get it. But the team that I worked with for a number of years, absolutely amazing, held wonderful standards. They were just fantastic. And there were standards on the equipment, how it was used. It was used the exact same way every single time. And I really loved working with them. So if you're thinking about getting a team together and you're bringing an intuitive on site, don't tell them the address, tell them the town and the time. And that's it. When they get there, let them call you and then tell them the address. That's going to cut out the whole concept of the medium researching it ahead of time, which most don't, some do. Shame on you. But uh, also, when the medium's there, don't talk to them. Let them just do their thing. Let them go through the building. And then, lastly, please let them clear the building. Please let them help the individuals that were stuck there, were causing the commotion, whether good or bad, or, right or wrong, or whatever you want to say. Please let them help them go home. That's really important. Now, the two pieces of the two tools, you could say, that were my favorite tools with ghost hunting are tools that you can get and you can start to play around with if you're interested. I am going to interject right here. Before I tell you these tools, if you do not do GCP yet, you have to learn it. I'll put a link in here. It's part of like the top 5 tools videos that you can watch. And even if you go in there just to watch the one video, you absolutely have to do some form of spiritual protection, and GCP is one of the most effective forms I have ever found. So please go to that video and learn about it. All right. So you've spiritually protected yourself. Now, the two things that I found were great, one of which I don't have one with me here, but I can just talk about it, was a Maglite flashlight. So a Maglite flashlight was great because you could loosen the cap of it just before it turns on. So it's the type of flashlight that it's not a button that turns it on. It's the tightening or the loosening of the actual lens that either tightens it and gets it barely, just get it to that point where it's still off, but just one hint of a turn would turn it on, right? You get it right to that edge. And then set it down on a table. You can lay it down. I tend to like to stand mine up so that the light's flashing up. And go ahead and start asking some questions. Is there any spirits in the room? Right? Is there anyone here that wants to talk with us? And you can go down the road of flash, turn the light on once for a yes, turn the light on twice, blink it twice for a no. You can create these different structures, and spirits are very good at working with electronics. And there was one time that we did this that I was blown away, and I thought to myself, this is a great investigating tool. This is a great communication tool. And I mean, because me as a medium, I was watching the spirit who came into the room answer the questions, to me first. I'm the only one that hears her answering it, but then the flashlight was reacting in the same way. So my little skeptical brain was like, the flashlight is saying the exact same thing that the spirit's saying to me. And so that just sealed the deal. I was like, okay, this really is working. And the other thing, which I do have one of, is as a digital recorder. So you can get these on Amazon. The standards, you can, if you're really interested in the right standards and the right, qualifications for this, I would do a deep dive into looking for, ghost hunting audio equipment and what you really need. But I have just a pretty basic one. And what you're going to want to do with this is you're going to want to obviously record the entire time. What I recommend and what the team did that I worked with is to get an armband. that you can put on. Some of them are like Velcro straps, and some of them have containers specifically for audio. I tend to have one that's just, it's like an armband that you put your cell phone in for when you're on a walk and you want to listen to music. So you can just pop it right on in, make sure that the microphone is sticking up, and then put it on your arm. That way, you can record, you can forget about it, you can just go on your way. And then throughout your evening, ask questions or the spirits. Are there any spirits here? Are there any male spirits here? Are there any female spirits here? Are there any animal spirits here? Do you have anything that you want to tell us? That's my favorite question. Is there anything that you want us to know? And just ask that through the night. When you're done, go back to the recording and get some sound headphones. Hold on. I've got this one plugged in. There we go. Some good noise cancellation headphones, and listen to the audio. And what you're going to listen for, and hopefully if you've got like GarageBand or something simple like that, you can see the movement in the sound as well. What you're listening for is you're listening for a voice that is not yours. You're listening for a voice that says something. It's usually very brief, but they say something really quickly and it wasn't you speaking. That in essence is an EVP, electronic voice phenomena. So those are fun to get. That's a little bit of evidence, and it's kind of neat, and it's interesting. You can do this on an actual ghost investigation if you schedule one, but here's the thing. You can do this on your own. I wouldn't say that the Maglite would be something that is going to work very frequently on your own, just communicating with even your guides or your loved ones or something. It might work really well for you. If it does, give it a try. But even if you're not doing a ghost investigation, you can get yourself one of these recorders. Spend 5 minutes a day. That's it. Just saying, are my guides with me? Are my loved ones with me? Make sure you GCP before you do this. Okay. And it's very important to do spiritual protection. If you do not do spiritual protection before, in essence, it's like going out in the street and, taking off your clothes and saying, does anyone want to talk to me? Okay. The protection is your like spiritual thing to say that no one that has any bad intention can come in and play around or mess with you, right? Or give you bad information. So you can do this on your own, 5 minutes a day if you want to, and then download the recording, listen to the recording, and see if you pick anything up. I've even picked up a little snippet when I did an interview with one of the Sage Method Sage Circle members. When I did an interview with her, we got an EVP on there. It was pretty spectacular. So I'll look for it and I'll see if I can find it and put it at the end of this. I think it would really, really, really cool for you to hear one. But you can look up EVPs and hear some examples online. I think it's really powerful when you actually get one for yourself. I think it's really interesting. And I do know a lot of practitioners that use audio recording in speaking with their guides, and they've gotten information and answers from them. It's typically short answers, yeses and nos and maybes and 2-word phrases, because they are manipulating the recorder to be able to create a voice response for you on audio, because it's not like they've got a physical voice box. So it is a little bit of a stretch. It's a little harder to communicate this way than it is to just communicate in a state of meditation, but it's kind of a fun way to do it. And if you're curious about it and you've always wondered it, jump on in, give it a try. But those are my 2 favorite ghost investigating tools. I know there's a bunch of other ones out there. Some of them are a little bit corny, but those are my 2 favorites. And I think that they're a great way to get started if you're interested in it. Okay, I found the recording and I'm going to play it here at the end. Let me just set this up for you. This was a Sage Circle member. She is awesome. She was a guest on my podcast and we were having a conversation. In essence, she says the words, okay, you'll understand the symbols. And right after the word symbols, she hears a male voice saying, okay. Now, I wasn't the one that said okay. She wasn't the one that said okay. That was definitely an EVP.
And my brain was like, okay, you'll understand the symbol.
Okay. That's
and
awesome.
It was good. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
This is your moment.